huge weekend in the football championship, of course. There, Ulster was front and centre. Clontibret beating Crossmaglen. Do you think many people would have seen that happen? 10 points to 9, and John McEntee, the Crossmaglen legend, taking down his own club.
I suppose on the basis of tradition, you're thinking everyone looks at Crossmaglen and thinks they're going to win, but this isn't quite the experienced team of old. Packed with all Ireland winners and all that kind of thing. Looks still a very talented team, and the guys of Wayne and Oisin O'Neill are definitely huge additions to it. But I'm sure they and most people would have thought, you have to take Clontibret very seriously, given that they've beaten Scottstown the previous week, given the quality of their manager. And I mean, you've Conor McManus, Vinnie Corey, Desi Moon, you've a lot of quality players there.
Grizzled inter-county stars, yeah.
And then an absolute, marquee forward in McManus. But that's an incredible 6 days turnaround, isn't it, to beat Scottstown and Crossmaglen?
Yeah.
Knock them both, I suppose, obviously Scottstown out of the Monaghan Championship, but when you get to county final season, you look at how's the province picture shaping up. You'd imagine that's two big contenders. You would have said 3 weeks ago for the Ulster title gone, and the same team have beaten them both.
Does that put Clontibret, I don't think many people would have thought of them as All-Ireland contenders. No, and there's obviously plenty of other strong teams left in Ulster, Naomh Conaill, Kilcoo and Derry Gonley Harps. But does that actually put them into the All-Ireland conversation?
Possibly, but...
Corofin are always there, and they're always going to be unbelievably strong, and there's a few more teams. But it has to put them somewhat in the picture to beat quality of that nature.
But I think all 4 teams left in Ulster are going to be thinking along those lines now, because all 4 of them are multiple county title winners recently. They all have that experience. There's no real I know Clontibret hadn't won in 5 years, but a lot of that team do have a lot of medals. But I don't think any of that 4 have an Ulster title between them. Derry Gonley have never been to a final. Kilcoo have lost a couple. Naomh Conaill lost one. And I could be wrong, but I don't think Clontibret, this current Clontibret team anyway, haven't won an Ulster title. So you imagine it's got to be a massive thing for all 4 of them. And with the likes of Crossmaglen gone, Scottstown, Guido haven't gotten lost out in Donegal last week. The picture seems to have kind of opened up, and it's a big opportunity for one of those to get over the line. Yeah, and
Crossmaglen, no doubt they'd love to have Jamie Clark was with Nathan Gales in London, because 7 wides in the first half, and it was 7 points to 3. 13 wides overall. To lose by a point, that's a kill. And to limit Conor McManus, now I'm sure he won a few frees, but to limit him to a point from play, and obviously the 5 frees.
Did you see that point from play?
No.
It was absolutely unbelievable.
Was it a Conor McManus point?
Yeah. I mean, he gets the ball, he's under serious pressure, he's being pushed out to the sideline, he's on his left, he looks like he's off balance. So this game has been streamed live on the BBC Northern Ireland website, and they put out a clip of this point, and it was absolutely superb. And he actually had a really good goal chance in the second half, which he talked about afterwards. Probably could have put the game to bed, but it looked, just looking at a couple of the highlight clips, kind of one of those typical Ulster, low scoring, huge battles, and just all about kind of getting over the line. Yeah, and
Pádraig Boyle with a couple of points, and Michael P. O'Dowd the same. So 3 scorers is all, and it's enough to get you through. Naomh Conaill beat Castleran, so Naomh Conaill are next for Clontibret. So a 3-week break for Castleran coming into this game versus Naomh Conaill, who'd had
4 day break
after 3 games in 10. I don't know how they got through that. I think it was a fast start, and maybe that goes down to one team being sharp from playing so much versus the other team sitting on the shelf for a while.
Yeah, and it was kind of maybe high profile enough last week. The Naomh Conaill team doctor sent a letter into the Ulster Council looking for a postponement of this game on the grounds of player welfare. The game went ahead, and it kind of feeds back into the fact that the Donegal game went to a third one. I know we had a penalty shootout in Ulster on Sunday. I think it's something that you're going to have to look at bringing in. The
penalties?
Yeah,
well they are now. And do you know
but they in certain counties. So, for example, it's the Donegal game that finished in a draw last week. There was no finish on the day.
Naomh Conaill wanted
wouldn't agree to it. Guido were happy to finish on the day, but ultimately, I think we're going to have to start looking to finish on the day, because it's brilliant that Naomh Conaill got over the line, and fair play to them. That's an incredible achievement, especially when they're away from home, a long old trek down from Glenties to Cavan on Sunday. But I just don't think it's going to be feasible anymore when counties are doing what they're doing, not starting the championship till August.
It's ridiculous the way
and if they insist on doing these round robin group systems, which they're perfectly entitled to doing, but then teams are getting their 3 or 4 games, and I thought it was a good point as well. I saw someone making the point, this phrase people said in soccer the whole time, it's a cruel way to lose a game on penalties. Well, it could be a cruel way if someone gets a point in the 65th minute, or if you lose by 7 or 8 points, then maybe there's a bit of cruelty to that. Like however you lose, it's going to hurt. Look, probably tangent away from that. But I mean, I don't think they should have been put in that position. I don't think they should have gone to 3 games when they knew that they had to get a team for Ulster.
Declan Bogue was explaining in one of his articles that the Antrim game, the semi-final that went to a free kick competition, that's not actually in the rule book, and the penalties are now, and the GAA, and especially up in Ulster, they are looking to make sure that the penalties do happen, because the fixture logjam is such that you need to decide it. And also, it's cruel to lose to a last second score as well as penalties. But if I had the choice, right, and I said this before, I think it should be, right, extra time finishes, they can't be separated. I think the referee should have a certain signal via his whistle to let you know it's now golden score. And just do it that way. At least everyone can say we had a chance on the field.
Yeah.
And it is decided on the night.
Yeah.
It won't go on that long. It might go on another 5 minutes or so. Maybe, well, look, there'll be an extraordinary circumstance like your man Eisner playing the tennis when it goes on for half a day, trying to get that final set.
Yeah, look, I think a case can be made for replays maybe in certain instances if you have the time, but I just don't think we should we shouldn't be going to second replays,
Yeah.
And Ulster also made the point that people are probably wondering, there's 2 week break now to the Ulster semi-finals. They did not have time then we'll get on to in a minute, maybe the Trillock Derry Gonley game, because I suppose this is probably the same conversation, to not do a replay, but they said, look, we have club leagues, we have Ulster under 20 championship and all that, so yeah, I don't think there was any real problem with kind of finishing that on the day. And I think ultimately, you see, that's something the Ulster Council brought in. Donegal as a county decided not to do that, and other counties aren't doing it. I mean, you saw in Kerry last weekend that the game went to a replay, and Dr. Crokes had to come out again this weekend. But I think ultimately some counties, when they look at their schedules, like say Kerry put their whole championship back until after the All-Ireland, and that went to an All-Ireland final replay. I think it's something that they're going to have to start looking into. Like, can counties afford to have replays anymore?
Naomh Conaill, they were 4 points ahead before Castlereagh scored after the 19th minute. I think the Ciaran Thompson goal was absolutely crucial. 4 All-Ireland winners on that Naomh Conaill team.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of Dublin, there can't be all that many clubs left that have that many All-Ireland winners.
Maybe Dr. Crokes.
Yeah, Corofin don't have any, obviously.
No.
Paul Fitzpatrick, he tweeted that the tone was set early on when Castlereagh, who kicked 8 first half wides, held possession for 80 seconds while not really threatening before being turned over and opened up. The first Naomh Conaill counter resulted in a wide, but it served as a warning for what was to come. And Castlereagh were down to 14 men after substitute Gavin Daly. He got a straight red card, so obviously that would have helped going down the final stretch. We'll move on to Kilcoo then, and I'll start off with a tweet from Stephen Poacher, the Carlow coach who's from down. There's a first. Adrian Cush, Maherafelt manager, has just handed his blue Banish door bib to referee Joe McQuillan to wear. Clash of jersey with Kilcoo's black.
Yeah.
Great stuff. That's just, again, I always say that's the sort of stuff that happens at club, and it just does.
That's good adaptability.
Yeah, it is. So Kilcoo beat Maherafelt, the Derry champions, 111 to 9 points. So it's Kilcoo's 8th run at an Ulster championship, whereas Maherafelt first county title since 78. That definitely plays into it. Number one, the know-how of playing Ulster club games versus how do Maherafelt come back from the huge joy. How do you build up again?
Yeah, and it's also, I suppose, what are your ambitions? I'd say Kilcoo are probably making no secret of the fact that with all those down county titles, and I think it's 2 Ulster finals they lost. Yeah. That's obviously got to be their target now. And the fact when someone like Mickey Moran is coming into your club, given all that he's achieved with counties and obviously more recently with Shockneil, I think that's probably a fair statement of your intent. So I'd say that once the county final was over, how long the celebrations went on in various clubs, which is completely understandable in Maherfelt's case. I presume there was a bit of a contrast there.
Well, your first title, the whole town is going to go insane, and you'll see it by how packed the bars are. When you've won it several times, I'd say it's kind of like business as usual. And
I think the start of this decade, I think it was the first time in 70 odd years Kilcoo had won it. So I presume when they won it for the first time, they probably went mental as well.
Jerome Johnson with 1-1 was fairly important in a 111 total for Kilcoo. So we'll move on to Derry Gonley Harps against Trillick. So this was 117 to 311. Then it went to penalties, which Derry Gonley won 6-5. But a tweet by Neil Loughran kind of sums it up. This game will be settled by penalties after a Conall Jones free with the last kick of the game for Derry Gonley. Free was given away by Mattie Donnelly, who was only back on the field a few minutes. Some drama. Now the thing with Mattie Donnelly is that he's the Tyrone captain, so he's obviously very important to Trillick, that he went off injured at half time in normal time, but came back on with 2 minutes to go in extra time to get turned over in his own half.
Yeah.
Obviously, he wasn't right at that stage. They probably wanted him to take a penalty. Like, that's just such a gamble, and it's after backfiring, you'd imagine.
Yeah, and I'd say it's one of a number of regrets that they're going to have. And, you know, like, obviously the record of Tyrone clubs is just, it's
shocking.
Once again, it's really, really striking, isn't it?
No win since 2002 in Ulster Club.
And like,
sorry, title win, that is.
They were up by, I think it was 3 points towards the end of normal time, got reeled in. They were up by 4 points early on in extra time, got reeled in. And it just looked like Errigal Ciaran just kind of hung in there. And then got that bit of luck. It was I was watching Neil Lochran actually was streaming the penalty shootout, and I was watching it back, like Lee Brennan, who had scored one earlier, sends the keeper the wrong way but hits the post.
Yeah, and then it was one of the Jones, Conor Jones, he scored the crucial one. What do you make of this idea with the penalty shootouts? And it's the same with the 65 competitions in hurling. You pick 5 people, and once, let's say it ends level after the first 5 shots each, you go back to the same 5 guys again. I don't like it.
I think we should be going all the way down, and like, you know, in soccer, you see the odd penalty shootout, it ends up being like the goalkeeper's taking it. You know, I want a 14-all penalty shootout, and next thing it's one of the keepers facing each other. But
actually, funnily enough, in GAA, you'd end up with the goalkeepers being the best shooters anyway.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Rory Began stepping up versus like a midfielder for the average club team? You'd probably fancy the goalkeeper in that situation. So Derry Donnelly are going to end up against Kilcoo in the next game. So
it'd be interesting to know how much preparation either do. Like, have teams in Ulster now started practicing penalty shootouts in training now?
I can't imagine.
Well, before, maybe, given the way that game went down a quarter final, if you have 2 weeks to prepare for your semi-final, and you know, we hear how meticulous teams are in their preparation, surely if you're one of the managers over the next 2 weeks, you do some kind of a penalty shootout, would you?
No doubt. Some sports psychologist is going to make a few bogus quid out of coming in and telling I'll get the lads mentally prepared for these penalty shootouts. Well, I'd say you will, yeah. Good man. Connacht Senior Football Championship quarter final. That's not, by the way, to rubbish all sports psychologists. It's more the bogus ones I'm thinking of here. The lads who are selling snake oil, because there's plenty of them too. The Connacht Senior Football Championship quarter finals. Pádraig Pearses beat Turlestrane and beat him well enough, 3-7 to 6 points. They've got Tyrconnell Gales of London in the semi-final
next Sunday, yeah.
So they couldn't, and that's not to say that Tyrconnell Gales won't put up a fair fight, and who knows, I mean, stranger things have happened, but really I don't think Pádraig Pearses could have asked for a better route to a Connacht final.
Yeah, and especially that they got 3 weeks after a massive breakthrough for them in Roscommon, so got to celebrate that.
And manage, I think it's so crucial when you've won your first championship that you've got a manageable fixture as the next one, because I think it's going to be hard to get back to the same level you had for the county final. And Turlestrane, they probably always felt like they were going to beat them. I think that's an ideal way to come into it.
Yeah, I think there was a little. They got a penalty in this game, and Turlestrane felt that they should have got a penalty the other end. And the game seemed to turn on that. But yeah, like if you got, you know, if you won a county for your first time, and then you're pitched in 2 weeks later to go to Tuam to play Corofin, like, you know, that's just such a tough task, like, you know, and really, really difficult to see them getting out of that. Like, but you imagine that, like, they've been waiting so long for this Roscommon title, and if you know the geography of the area, like, I think they almost neighbouring club, St. Bridget's, Clonagale are on the other side of them. So they've seen the two of them over the years, you know, have their Connacht and All-Ireland campaigns. And like, this is a brilliant chance for them now, you think, if they can keep their focus, which it looks like they got it back for the Turlestrane game, like, to get to a Connacht final.
Paul Carey scored 1-6, and 1-4 that came after the 50th minute. Niall Carty and then the Hubert Darcy penalty, like you mentioned also. It sets up, we'll move on to Ballintubber beating Glencar Manor Hamilton 111 to 9 points, and that sets up a clash with Corofin, who won the replay in the Galway final. But Ballintubber, to do that without, I suppose people will just assume that Ballintubber would walk through this game because it's Leitrim, which is obviously a little bit unfair. But to do it without Cillian O'Connor, their main man, that's impressive.
Yeah. Probably still, you know, they're playing at home. Alan Dillon came into the side, you know, he's a lot of experience. You still have, you know, Diarmuid O'Connor, Michael Plunkett, Jason Gibbons. You still would have expected them, given that their level of experience. And as we said a couple of weeks ago, the way the draw worked out, felt like this was maybe going to pan out the way it has. That it, you know, it's probably maybe Ballintubber had their work out in the Mayo County final. Took Corofin 2 goals to get over Tuam Stars, but we've a repeat of last year's Connacht final next Sunday, and ultimately Corofin have had the Indian sign over Ballintubber over this decade, and if they were to win for a 4th time, still a brilliant decade for Ballintubber. You've won 5 county titles, but you imagine with the kind of you want to test yourself, and the targets team set themselves, for the players, I'd say would be a disappointment if they were to go out again against the same team.
Yeah, Alan Plunkett scored the crucial goal before half time, and Glencar Manor Hamilton had Killian McGriskin sent off on a second yellow card for an attempted tackle on Michael Plunkett. Conor Dolan scored 7 points for Glencar Manor Hamilton, by the way. So Corofin beating Tuam Stars 11 points to 8. It had been a more high scoring game the first day around, but still 7 in a row for Corofin.
Yeah.
Not a massive shock that they would go on and get the job done.
No, because I suppose because we had the evidence was there from last year how they managed to get themselves right for the Mount Belly game, and the fact they had 2 weeks as well is probably maybe a bit of a help at this time of year.
Down by 2 in stoppage time the first day.
Yeah.
God, Tuam will really feel like they let this one slip.
It's just know-how, isn't it? And just that kind of experience to set over the line. But I was looking at the stats yesterday. Ciaran Fitzgerald, that's his 14th county senior medal now in Galway. So he's 4th on his own in the Roll of Honour, if we're to look at it like that.
Wow.
So it's 14 Galway, 6 Connacht and 3 All-Irelands.
Who's got the most county medals? Like Paul Hearty has something like 18, doesn't he?
Well,
the Armagh and Crossmaglen.
I do know the big recent one this year was Brian Bruno McCormack in Port got to 16.
19 titles for Paul Hearty. Can anyone let us know if they know of somebody who's got more county titles than that? Because that's sensational.
But yeah, that's there was a few that jumped out for me this year, Fitzgerald and McCormack.
Well, now that you mentioned Ciaran Fitzgerald, he's been injured recently. He comes back into the team. Daithí Burke, who had been with Turlock of course, and then got knocked out at the Galway semi-finals in hurling. Micheál Lundy, who hadn't been fit either, and I think he came on the last day and had a good impact. All 3 of those start in a replay, so surprise. Wasn't pretty from Tuam. They scored 11 points from 31 shots. And Cian O'Connell, he wrote an article about it, and he summed it up by saying Tuam, who kicked 5 points from their first 6 attempts, just managed to add 3 more scores out of their remaining efforts. No score for 23 minutes during the second half.
Yeah, and no goal as well. It looked like the drawing game, the goals kind of gave them a big boost with the different times they came. I think it was one in the first half and then one at the end, which looked like it was going to be the impetus for them to go on and win it.
Yeah, the Dublin final, I don't know if you got a chance to watch this, Ballyboden against Thomas Davis, so it finished 15 points to 9. When I was watching from early on, I think it was something like 4 or 5-0 to Ballyboden early on. It just kind of felt like Thomas Davis were always kept at arm's length.
Yeah, and it's probably a different type of way that they won compared to the last 2 games. They kind of reeled in the Fianna, won an extra time, had to come from behind. Were they 6 down against St Jude's at half time?
They were definitely well behind. I'm not sure if it was as many as 6, but they were way behind.
Yeah, so you wonder, was it a case like, let's get a strong start? And obviously they were the more experienced team. They all have county medals in their squad. All-Ireland medal. It was completely new for Thomas Davis. So, the well-fancied side, once you get on top, you don't give them kind of a sniff of it, and kind of get into their stride. And, looks like obviously the Basquel brothers are very, very well known and have been really influential. And they've become more influential since that All-Ireland club win. But Ross McGarry looks like a big addition there as well. He's been Dublin under 20 the last couple of years. So they're kind of evolving. You see Colin Keeney coming off the bench, and you've still Declan Manny in midfield, Michael Darmacaulay. Saw Michael Darmacaulay tweeting after the 3 of them and Darren Nelson are the only 4 still there from 2009. So it was their 3rd county medal basically. Wow. And most of the team has kind of changed since then, but it looks like the attack, they're the kind of new leaders, the Basquel brothers and Ross McGarry.
They had plenty of chances. They had plenty of the ball, Thomas Davis, but they just didn't seem to know how to convert it into scores. And I think Davy Keogh scored 1 brilliant point, but then he tried another banana kick from maybe 35 yards at a time that would have brought it back to maybe 5-3 or something like that. And it skewed wide, and it kind of typified how Thomas Davis didn't really have the incision to actually make it count. But it's only a second defeat in 2 seasons for them, obviously Senior B last year. They can kick on from that. Yeah,
absolutely. And the other thing was, I suppose, when they beat Kilmacud, that surely placed Ballyboden on their guard. There was no sense of, okay, they only beat Castleknock by a point, but then when they backed it up by knocking out the reigning champions, you imagine that, it was kind of well flagged, their threats and all that, and the game being on TV and all these little things, and then you get off to a kind of fast start. And the manner of Ballyboden's wins up until now, you wonder, was it a case that, look, we've done a lot of hard work to get to this stage, we're not going to get this chance slip.
And they have loud champions Newtown Blues in the quarterfinal next week. I can't see that being anything but a heavy win.
No, you wouldn't think so, and it's kind of shaping up now. There's a lot of big names now kind of left in the Leinster race. Ballyboden probably the favourites, but Portlaoise, Sarsfields, it's all towns. It's all the kind of big urban places in Leinster. Like Gary Castle's still in there, Rathote. I think it's Sarsfield's Port on the same side of the draw, and I think if Ballyboden win, I think it's Gary Castle or Rathote that they'll be playing in the semi-final.
Just one final story then from the Junior B League in Cork. I don't know if you saw this story, but Ballintubber, they put out a message on social media. Great victory for the Village, 2019 County League champions. Very disappointed with the treatment of both clubs and the supporters by Cork County Board. This was a big game for two very small clubs struggling to survive, and to be asked to pay €100 each to play this game under lights in Páirc Uí Chaoimh was a disgrace. It's not very often small clubs get to play in this venue. The supporters then had to stand on the sideline to watch the game, and there was some elderly supporters on both sides. The seating area could not be opened because it was flooded. This is a multi-million euro facility, and the stand was flooded. No linesmen, no umpires present. Then the person making the presentation to the winners, Ballintubber, couldn't even get the name of our club right. Total disrespect for small clubs up the Village.
Yeah, I suppose the one thing to say, I'm pretty sure that's not the stadium they were playing in now. That would have been the 4G pitch next to it, which has been used a lot in recent weeks. And like Cork, the under-21 hurling championship is a bit behind, so I think it's great that they're going to be playing it. But this is probably something they're going to have to tackle, because this pitch is being used more and more. Yeah. So I guess the question is, who pays for it? I mean, I presume in most cases don't. Like, there is some kind of like if you're playing a challenge game with Coola down, I don't know, in Carlow or whatever, like I presume you're giving something towards the lights and all that, like, you know. So but when it is a final, there is that thing that it is.
Well, Cork GA are staging this competition. You would imagine that they would cover that. If they want teams to enter in it, you haven't got a product or a championship or whatever you want to call it, if teams don't buy into it, then to charge them for it. I don't know. It seems harsh to me, especially like small little club.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But what I mean is that I think it's something the Cork County Board are probably going to have to, because this is the first time that one of their facilities is going to be used like this so much. I mean, like there's a lot of games on in Páirc Uí Chaoimh at the moment on their lights. I mean, I'm sure they're not asking them to pay the lights yet. Yeah, look, I don't know the circumstances behind it, like, but yeah, it doesn't look like they're too happy with how they were treated.
That's it for Club Talk Football this week. If there's any stories we missed, make sure to message us in at FOTool13 and at Shane Saint. And don't forget to follow us on YouTube.